Hi people, today's recommendation is Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham. I have to say that I know Daniel Abraham as part of James S.A. Corey, co-writer of the Expanse series, and I have been always curious. I wanted to read one of his other books, but I didn't know which one. So when he published this one, the first in the new series of Kithamar, I thought this is the time. And I'm so glad that I did pick this book. I mean, the characters are amazing. And this is something that I did love in The Expanse as well, that you have amazing characters who are human. And that for me means having characters that have flaws, that make mistakes, that are not perfect. And they might or might not learn how to be better, how to recognize where they did go wrong or not, and to see how they evolve. And for me that's very important because some time back we only had like these perfect characters who did everything right and always knew what was expected of them and how to deliver. And this is something that for me grows old because I'm human and we make mistakes and I learn and I evolve, and sometimes I repeat my mistakes. And having characters who are human in books for me means a lot. So yeah, I did love finding the characters in this book. We're going to have like these two main characters, two girls. One of them is Alys and the other one is Samish. And I have to say that I love everything about them, the relationship they have, where they come from, the story. And also I think that we have like this third main character, which is the city Kithamar itself. And yeah, I don't want to reveal much about the plot. I'm going to say nothing about the plot, actually. I'm just going to briefly, talk about the characters. And we are going to begin the book with these pickpockets that live in a very dark situation. They suffer from hunger, they have no money, they are like the lower of the lowest. And they do whatever they have to do in order to survive. And we have Alys, and Alys is going to lose her brother very early on the book. And then she's going to be like taking the mantle of her brother and trying to do the things that he was doing in a way of honoring him or continuing his work and being near him despite that he's gone. And more on that later. And also we're going to have Samish, who is younger than Alys, and since she was very little, she has loved being near Alys, and this feeling keeps on evolving towards something more. And you can see from the beginning that she is kind of in love with Alys, and so she's going to risk everything that she has to help her. And for me, it was very incredible to see the evolution of this character coming into herself and prioritizing the things that she really wants to do for herself, for her betterment, for being the person that she is. And that comes from getting to a place where she questions, who am I? What I'm doing? What's my place in the world? Do I fit in here or I don't? And I love the journey that Samish makes. And I'm not going to say anything more because I don't want to make any spoilers. And also, Alys, for me, it's an amazing character because I say that there's three main characters. I will say there's four. Grief. This book, the plot is amazing. Really, if you want to read a summary of the book, do it. But I think it's better to enter knowing as little as possible inside this book, which is going to be following two main characters in their journeys toward, being pickpockets, discovering who killed Alys' brother, and different factions who held power and swipe over the city, and the differences between people in power who use other people as ways of getting what they want, and people who try to find their own footing and survive, and all of this, and much, much more, and also magic, and also it's an amazing book. But as I was saying, I think that grief, it's the conductor, the central point of this book. And I love how Daniel Abraham has writing about it. Because as I say at the very beginning of the book, Alys loses her brother, and she goes through all the spectrum, all the expected spectrum. You cannot accept that he's gone, that you keep looking for him, that you rage, that you despair, that you cry, and that you feel guilt because you keep on going on and he doesn't. And also, there is one point in the book in which she's having fun. Finally, grief, it's, letting go a bit, and she's having fun. And then she stops, looks at herself, and blames herself. Like, I'm having fun without him. And I think that more or less everyone, that people, we have lost someone. I think that it's sad, but we come to this point in which we blame ourselves. We feel guilty because we're still here, the other person is gone. We should do the best that we can with our lives. But at the same time, we feel guilty. And also we are having fun or enjoying ourselves. And there's those moments in which you stop and say, no, I shouldn't be having fun. I miss him, I miss her. Why I'm not crying? Why I'm having fun? And I think it's very important to find these kind of things in books, because when you lose someone, they always tell you there are like 7 stages of grief that you journey through. It's not like linear. You can jump back and forth and move between all of them, rage, despair, acceptance, crying, and all of this. But these kind of things, feeling happy and then saying, oh my God, I'm happy, and that person is not here. It's something that happens also. And I did love to find it in this book, because it makes you realize that we are all human. And we deal with grief in different ways, but also in very similar ways. And I did love, as I say, the depiction of grief that Daniel Abraham does in this book. And I think for me it was very important, and I picked this book and I read this book in a moment in which I needed to follow this journey of grief, of having this person not accepting that her brother is gone, and then trying to be the brother as a way of, it's my way of having him stay with me. If I am him, if I turn myself into him, if I move in the places that he moves, if I do what he did, if I can find his friends and his friends can tell me everything that I didn't know about him. And then finding her own footing, but still wanting to be like this kind of, maybe not realizing it consciously, but you are a shadow of the person that left, because you want, it's like, I'm not letting go, and then deciding that you have to keep on going on, and you have to kind of let go and find yourself, this new you, living in a place where the other person is no longer. And it's a very powerful book for all this. And also, the plot is amazing. I know I didn't say anything about the plot, but I don't want to say anything about the plot. You can read the summary. See? You can pause the video here. I'm not lazy. Honestly, I always, that I always make like a brief summary of every book. But I think that this book is very powerful, and that you should enter knowing as little as possible, knowing that the characters are amazing, really fleshed out, that you are going to be dealing with trauma, with losing someone that you love, with having to deal with life yourself, not trusting your parents and not having parents, or finding your place in the world, about corruption, about those in power doing whatever they want, about people using people, about finding your own way, about reinventing yourself, about coming to a point in life in which you look at yourself and say, who am I? And there's different characters that are going to offer us so many things. And also about colonization, in the way that having someone coming from power, going to a place where there is less power, and abusing people there. And these people paying the ultimate price, even with their own lives sometimes. And and equality. I love that they have this representation in their books, when they write as James A. Corey, and when Daniel Abraham writes by himself. I love that we have representation of different genders, of different kind of loves, of different races, of different cultures, and it makes you really think about lots of things. I'm being very vague, but I don't want to spoil anything. You need to read this one. If you love the Expanse, you're going to love this one. If you want a fantasy world with, with reflections of what we are living nowadays, about corrupt people, about people who abuse others, about, colonization and thinking less of others, and about, pick this one up. I'm shutting up because I say I will be brief.